ask you something that I want you to sit with for a moment. When was the last time you allowed yourself to dream big? Not the safe, practical, realistic kind of dream that fits neatly inside the boundaries of what other people think is possible for you. I mean the kind of dream that makes your heart race just thinking about it. The kind of dream so enormous it almost embarrasses you to say out loud. The kind of dream that when you whisper it to yourself in the quiet of the night, something deep inside you catches fire and refuses to go out. When was the last time you felt that? Because somewhere along the way, most of us stopped dreaming big. We traded our enormous, audacious, world-shaking visions for something smaller, something safer, something that wouldn't hurt as badly if it fell apart. We let the world slowly talk us down from our mountains and convince us to be satisfied standing on the hills. We let people who never dared to try anything truly great become the architects of our limitations. And little by little, day by day, we started believing what they told us. But I am here today to tell you something that I need you to hear all the way down to your bones. That voice inside you that keeps whispering about something greater, that stubborn, persistent feeling that you were built for more than this ordinary existence, that quiet but relentless pull towards something bigger than your current circumstances can contain. That is not wishful thinking. That is not ego running wild. That is not some childish fantasy you should have outgrown by now. That is your destiny trying to find you. And it has been patient. It has been waiting. It has survived every doubt you threw at it, every time you talked yourself out of it, every season you chose comfort over courage. Your destiny is still standing there, arms open, asking you the same question it has always been asking. Are you finally ready? The world has a very specific and very dangerous message it sends to people with big dreams. It sends that message through the mouths of people we love and through the mouths of people we barely know. It whispers it through the news and shouts it through social media and embeds it so deeply in our cultural conversation that most of us absorb it without even realizing we've swallowed it whole. The message is this: be realistic. Know your place. Understand your limitations. Don't reach too far or want too much or believe too boldly, because the higher you climb, the harder you fall. And the tragic thing is that millions of people build their entire lives around that message. They make their career choices based on it. They shrink their ambitions to fit inside it. They silence the voice inside them that keeps screaming for something more because they've been convinced that screaming voice is the problem rather than the answer. I need you to understand what that message is really doing to you. Every time you accept someone else's definition of what is possible for your life, you are giving away the most precious thing you own. You are surrendering your own story to someone who has never lived a single day inside your skin. You are letting someone else's fear become the ceiling of your courage. And you deserve so much better than that. Let me tell you about the nature of a genuine big dream, because most people fundamentally misunderstand what a big dream actually is and what it requires of you. A big dream is not a wish. A wish is passive and comfortable and asks nothing of you. You make a wish and then you wait, hoping the universe arranges itself on your behalf while you stay exactly where you are. A wish requires no sacrifice, no courage, no skin in the game. A big dream is entirely different. A big dream is alive. It breathes and moves and demands things from you. It wakes you up at 3 in the morning with ideas you can't quiet. It makes you restless in rooms where everyone else seems perfectly content. It refuses to let you fully settle into comfort because comfort is the enemy of everything you could become. If you carry a dream that won't release you, that keeps returning no matter how many times life beats it back, that survived your darkest seasons and your worst defeats and every well-meaning person who told you to let it go, pay very close attention to that dream, That kind of persistence is not accidental. That relentless return is the universe telling you something specific and important about who you are and what you were placed on this earth to accomplish. And here is what I know about big dreams from hard and beautiful experience. Big dreams are not supposed to feel comfortable. They are not supposed to feel safe or easy or manageable or within reach from where you currently stand. A dream big enough to actually transform your life is going to terrify you. It is going to require you to stretch yourself past every edge you've ever known. It is going to demand that you become a fundamentally different person than the one you are today. That fear you feel when you allow yourself to fully think about your biggest dream, that cold sweat and racing heart and voice in your head saying, "Who do you think you are?" That is not a warning to stop. That is a compass pointing you directly towards everything that matters. That fear is the price of admission to the life you actually want to live. Now, let me speak plainly about the people who told you your dream was too big. You know exactly who they are. They live in your memory and sometimes in your present. Maybe it was a parent who genuinely believed they were protecting you from disappointment when they told you to be practical and realistic and have a backup plan. Maybe it was a teacher who looked at everything you were capable of becoming and could only see the limited version of what you currently were. Maybe it was a friend who felt quietly threatened by the size of your ambition because your willingness to dream big held up a mirror to their own settled life, and they didn't love what they saw. Maybe it was a boss who needed you to stay small so the system could keep running smoothly. Maybe it was society itself, with all its invisible fences about who gets to dream large and who is supposed to know their place and be grateful for whatever scraps of possibility get handed their way. And maybe, and this is the part I really need you to sit with, maybe the loudest voice telling you your dream is too big is your own. Maybe you've internalized all of those messages so completely and for so long that you've become the primary obstacle standing between yourself and everything you want. You've started doing the world's work for it, cutting yourself down before anyone else gets the chance, shrinking yourself preemptively to avoid the pain of being shrunk by someone else. Hear me on this. The boundaries of someone else's imagination are not the limits of your life. The ceiling of someone else's courage is not the height you are permitted to reach. The size of someone else's belief is not the measure of your potential. The people who told you to dream smaller were not speaking truth to you. They were speaking autobiography. They were describing their own fears, their own wounds, their own dreams they gave up on and made peace with. They were painting the walls of their own prison and calling it wisdom. And you have been living according to someone else's story for far too long. Today, that changes. Now, I have to tell you something about the path to a big dream that is going to challenge everything you think you know about how success is supposed to work. And I need you to hear this clearly, because this understanding might be the thing that saves you when everything gets hard. Your big dream is not going to unfold the way you imagine it will. The journey from where you stand today to where your dream lives is not a straight, clean line with clear milestones and predictable progress. It is going to be messy and nonlinear and full of wrong turns and unexpected detours and painful moments where you cannot see even one step ahead of you. There will be seasons where you pour everything you have into your dream and see almost no visible evidence that anything is working. There will be periods that feel like going backward when you are actually being repositioned for something greater. There will be losses that break your heart open. There will be plans that crumble completely. And I need to tell you something that most motivational voices skip over because it doesn't make for a comfortable message. Pursuing a big dream will cost you something real, something significant. Dreams of genuine size require genuine sacrifice. You will have to release certain comforts that feel essential right now, but are actually just familiar. You will have to disappoint people who want you to stay exactly where you are because your staying makes their staying feel more justified. You will have to choose your dream over your excuses on 1,000 ordinary days when the excuses feel so much more reasonable than the work. You will have to choose it on the days when you are tired. You will have to choose it on the days when nobody is watching and nobody is cheering and the progress is invisible and the doubt is deafening. You will have to choose it when choosing it is the hardest thing you could possibly do. But here is what every single person who has ever committed everything to a genuine big dream eventually discovers. Everything you sacrifice in the honest pursuit of something that truly matters will be worth it. Not in some distant theoretical way. Worth it in the real and specific way of looking back at your life and knowing without any shadow of doubt that you chose the harder and more meaningful path, and it made you into someone you are genuinely proud to be. Because this is the secret about big dreams that changes everything once you truly understand it. The dream is not just about the destination. The dream is about the transformation. The person you become while fighting for something enormous, that person is the real prize. The business or the book or the platform or the career or the body or whatever form your specific dream takes, those are wonderful. But who you become in the earning of them, that is irreplaceable. That is the part nobody can ever take away from you. I want to talk to you now about the moment most people give up on their big dreams, because understanding this specific moment might be the most important thing I say today. Most people quit right before the breakthrough. They don't know that's what they're doing. They have no way of knowing how close they are because the nature of breakthroughs is that they are invisible until they happen. All they can feel is the exhaustion and the doubt and the absence of visible results and the growing suspicion that maybe they were wrong about themselves all along. So they stop. They decide the dream wasn't realistic after all. They convince themselves they gave it everything they had and it simply wasn't meant to be. They return to something safer and smaller and less painful. And then they spend the rest of their lives carrying the particular and devastating weight of wondering what might have happened if they had stayed just a little longer. Here is the truth about that moment that I need you to carry with you. The period right before everything changes is almost always the hardest period of the entire journey. The resistance gets strongest precisely when the breakthrough is closest. The doubt gets loudest in the moments right before the clarity finally arrives. The darkness is most complete in the final moments before the dawn. When every part of you is screaming to quit, that is not evidence that you should stop. That is evidence that you are closer than you have ever been. That exhaustion is not proof that you cannot make it. That exhaustion is proof that you have been fighting hard enough and long enough to arrive at the place where the real test begins. And the real test is never about talent or strategy or timing. The real test is always the same question asked in 100 different forms. How much do you actually want this? Now, let me tell you the one thing, the single most important thing that separates the people who actually achieve their big dreams from the people who spend their lives talking about them. It is not talent. I have watched enormously talented people live and die with their greatest gifts sealed up inside them because they could never find the courage to fully and unconditionally commit. It is not luck. Luck is democratic. It visits everyone with some regularity. The difference is whether you've done enough preparation and paid enough attention to recognize it and act on it decisively when it appears. It is not perfect timing. I promise you, there is no perfect time to chase a big dream. Anyone who is waiting for perfect conditions has simply made a more comfortable peace with staying exactly where they are. The one thing that separates those who achieve from those who don't is a decision, not a hope, not a wish, not a plan with a dozen escape routes carefully mapped out so you can retreat gracefully if things get difficult. A decision. The kind of decision that lives in your bones and rewires your brain and reorganizes your entire life around a single clear commitment. The kind of decision after which failure simply stops being an option your mind entertains. When you make that decision, and I mean the real version of it, with nothing held back and no part of you keeping one foot safely on the familiar ground, everything in your life begins to shift. Your focus sharpens in ways it never could before because your energy is no longer divided between your dream and your doubt. You start seeing possibilities that were invisible to you when you were still half committed. You start attracting people and circumstances and opportunities that are aligned with where you are going. Your choices become cleaner and simpler because you have one clear North Star guiding everything. The decision comes first. everything else, all the strategy and the hustle and the growth and the eventual achievement, all of it follows the decision, but nothing meaningful happens before it. I want to talk to someone specific right now. I want to talk to the person who has been carrying a dream quietly and carefully for a long time. You haven't told many people about it because you're afraid that saying it out loud makes the potential failure feel more real and more public. You've been tending to this dream in private, nurturing it just enough to keep it alive, but not so much that you'd have to fully commit to it and risk everything on it. I see you. I know the exact weight of what you've been carrying. I understand the exhaustion of living in that space between the safety of your current life and the terrifying pull of the life you actually want. I know how it feels to want something so deeply and so completely that the wanting itself becomes a kind of pain. And I need to tell you with everything I have that the fear of failing at your dream is not bigger than the cost of never trying for it. The pain of falling short is not greater than the lifelong pain of wondering what you might have become if you'd had the courage to find out. You can absolutely survive failure. People survive failure every single day, and they rebuild themselves and learn from what went wrong, and they go back out there. And eventually, if they refuse to quit, they get to where they were going. What people do not easily survive is a life haunted by their own unrealized potential. What destroys people quietly and over a very long time is regret. And the deepest regret is never for the risks that didn't pay off. The deepest regret is always for the risks that were never taken, for the voice that was never followed, for the dream that was talked about endlessly, but never genuinely pursued. You are going to reach the end of your life someday. Every single one of us is. And when that moment arrives, when you look back over the whole of your existence, the only question that will carry any real weight is whether you lived the life you were fully capable of living, whether you honored the specific and unrepeatable gifts you were given, whether you had the courage to become who you were actually made to be. That question is waiting for all of us at the end, but the answer is being written right now. In this moment, in every choice you make, in every step you take, and every dream you either pursue with everything you have or quietly let fade. So here is what I'm asking of you today, right now. Not someday, not after you've gotten a little more ready or saved a little more money or cleared a little more space in your life. Right now. Give yourself permission. Real permission. Permission to dream bigger than you've allowed yourself to dream in years. Permission to want the life you actually want, rather than the life that seems most justifiable to the people around you. Permission to believe without apology in a version of yourself and your future that the critics and the doubters and even the people who love you most might not understand. You do not need anyone's blessing to pursue your own dream. You never did. And until you give that blessing to yourself, no external validation in the world will ever be enough. Then write down the dream, the real version, not the trimmed and sensible version you've been telling people about, the actual dream, the one that makes you feel simultaneously more alive and more terrified than anything else you can imagine. Write it down some more real and look at it and breathe into the full weight of how much you want it. Then take one step towards it today. One real step, not the planning of a step or the thinking of a step or the researching of what the ideal first step should theoretically be. A step, something real and concrete and irreversible, even if it's small, especially if it's small, because the size of the step is never the point. The point is the movement. The point is the commitment made physical and real. Everything enormous in the history of human achievement began with one small, frightened, determined, beautifully imperfect step. And then take another tomorrow, and another the day after that. And keep going. Keep showing up for this dream even when it's hard and slow and invisible, and the people around you are starting to wonder why.